Hello and welcome back to Energonomics. I'm your host, Richa Mishra. Today, we are talking about a quiet revolution happening at your local car dealership. For decades, petrol was the undisputed king of Indian roads, but the latest retail data shows a massive shift. Alternative fuels, CNG, hybrids, and EVs have surged to over 40% market share, running neck to neck with traditional petrol. A big catalyst behind this shift is the rollout of E20 fuel and the wave of consumer anxiety trailing behind it. Social media is flooded with warnings about clogged fuel filters and corroded engines. But what is the actual ground reality inside the workshops? To separate online panic from showroom facts, my guest today is Saharsh Damani, the CEO of the Federation of Automobile Dealers Association, or FADA. Welcome to the show, Mr. Damani.
Thank you, Richa. Pleasure to have be on your show.
So let's dive straight into the deep end. And, as I also had asked you, that if you scroll through YouTube or X, you will see furious vehicle owners claiming E20 fuel is ruining their engine, causing starting troubles, and clogging filters. Now, your organization represents over 30,000 dealers across India, and your leadership recently stated that official workshop log shows zero documented E20 specific complaints. So, how do you explain this massive gap between online outrage and your actual data?
So, Richa, just before we begin, small correction. We are, as FADA, we have 15,000 dealership outlets and 30,000 outlets, and not 30,000 dealer owners. So that is the first correction. Second, if I would, never dismiss what a customer is saying. If somebody says that his vehicle is having a starting trouble or a filter has clogged, the symptom may be real, but experiencing a problem and scientifically establishing what caused that problem are two absolutely different things. And I think that explains much of this gap between, the social media and what we are seeing at dealership workshops at our members workshop. So on social media, the sequence can very quickly become: I filled E20, my vehicle developed a problem, therefore E20 caused that problem. At an authorized workshop, we cannot walk like that, or we cannot work like that. We look at the diagnostic codes, service history, filters, injectors, fuel systems, aging components, and where necessary, the if necessary, the fuel itself. The symptom is an observation, and the causation requires a clear diagnosis. So let me also clarify that as I already said, there are not 30,000 dealer principals, but 30,000 dealership outlets. And we had reached out to our general counsel, and there are more than 60 dealer representations in the council who come from all across India, from all the states which are present in India, and different vehicle categories made with the two-wheelers, three-wheelers, passenger vehicle, commercial vehicle, tractors, and wheeled construction equipments. And at that point, we had not received a single documented customer complaint scientifically linking vehicle damage to E20. More recently, what our dealers are telling us is that we are seeing many more queries than actual complaints. So now, if you look at this from an ordinary citizen's perspective, when you and I buy a car, we don't personally take it into the laboratory and repeat 40,000 to 60,000 kilometers of durability testing. We rely on competent technical institutions to do that work for all of us. ARAI has said that E20 compatible vehicles undergo structured validation extending to 40,000 to 60,000 kilometers before commercial introduction. Also at FADA, I don't want to enter the domain of government, oil companies, all the or the vehicle manufacturers, the auto OEMs. Our domain is the customer and the automobile dealer from that perspective. And what I can tell you is from that vantage point is that we are not seeing a systematic pattern of any sort of engine failures being scientifically attributed to specifically complaints related to E20 fuel. So my message to consumers is very simple. Please question, please report a genuine problem, but don't prejudge its cause. Social media, can certainly raise questions, but let a proper diagnosis happen at a authorized dealership workshop so that we can come to a conclusive conclusion that whether it is related to E20 or whether it is related to something else in your vehicle.
That's very well explained to us. But then, immediate question that comes is what happens about legacy fleets? What do your dealers tell someone, rolling in with a 2018 petrol car that wasn't built for E20? Uh, are people asking for retrofits?
For a 2018 vehicle, ma'am, see, the thing is, the fuel which used to come at that point of time is what the vehicle manufacturer used to say that either it is E5 compliant or E10 compliant or E15 compliant. But at that point of time, no E20 fuel was available. Hence, nothing related to E20, was mentioned either in the manual of the vehicle or in the fuel lid. The sticker used to there was no sticker per se, but that doesn't mean that that vehicle is not compliant. There's always a safety mechanism which is put into place. And I'll give you a very simple example. A two-wheeler is meant to be driven by two people, but in India, if you see, many a times there are three people on the bike or four people or even five people on a two-wheeler which are riding the bike. So does this mean that it will break the frame of the vehicle? No. Why? Because there is enough margin of safety put into place that a vehicle which was built for two people can also uh, take the pressure of four or five people who are sitting and driving it. So this margin of safety is equally, well established in a vehicle from a fuel perspective as well. And therefore, if we say that legacy vehicles are not E20 compliant, yes, at that point of time there was no E20 fuel, and hence it was not mentioned. But where there is enough margin of safety in place, and due to that, there is no issue specifically from engine failure point of view that your vehicle is not compliant. But yes, there is one thing which the government has also announced that, and they have also clarified, yes, there will be certain fuel average drops coming in legacy vehicle, but then these average drops will happen in BS3 or BS4 vehicles, which are say 2010 or 2015 manufactured. So in that, the fuel drop may be around 4 to 6 odd %. But then we also need to understand that fuel drop happens because of multiple reasons. E20 is just one of those reasons. The way you drive your vehicle, the way you upkeep your vehicle, the kind of tire quality you have, the kind of tire pressure you maintain in the tires, all these components, define how your vehicle efficiency comes up. So therefore, just blaming E20, I don't think is a good reason, to blame the entire fuel mechanism in the country that E20 fuel is bad for my vehicle.
Looking ahead, if you're looking ahead, the government has clearly hinted that E20 will just be kind of a launching pad. And, you'll have various other categorizations which will be coming in E22, E25, and even higher blends down the road. So, are you seeing any kind of buyer's freeze where consumers hold off on buying a car today because they fear their brand new E20 car will become obsolete 3 years down the line?
So yes, as you know, government has notified these multiple fuels, but then all these fuels will only come into play once they are thoroughly tested. Enough testing is done by the testing agencies, whether the fuel will make sense or not, whether it will destabilize the vehicle or keep the vehicle stable. Once all the testings are done, similar to all the testing when they were done for E5, E10, or E20 vehicles, E20 fuel. Only post all those tests are successful, that's when the government may introduce the newer blends of ethanol. But right now, they have only been notified, and there is no such thing that these new blend of ethanol blended fuels will come into play maybe in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, or any other time. So it's pure speculation right now. That is one. Second is, as I said, customers need not worry about the compatibility of their vehicles, because as I say, that right now E20 fuel is into play, but then your vehicle which was compatible for E5 fuel or E10 fuel is continuing to run on the road. Which there's no engine issue for these legacy vehicles. Similarly, if in future, whenever the government brings up the E22 fuel or E25 fuel, I'm sure they will take this into consideration, that the legacy vehicles, which are not maybe E22 compliant or E25, whatever that new blend is, they will make sure that the vehicles on road continue to ply safely, securely, and there is no hiccup from a customer's point of view in terms of using those new blended fuel. But once again, at the cost of reputation, I'll say that there is no announcement, no plan of bringing any new blended fuel in the market, because they are only in test phase right now. And only once those tests are concluded successfully, government may think of bringing those new ethanol blended fuel in the market.
Finally, the most important question for a consumer is, let's talk about the wallet. So, ethanol has a lower energy density than the pure petrol, and meaning drivers do see a marginal drop in fuel economy, if I may say so, usually around 5% to 7%. So, what I wanted to understand from you is that is FADA lobbying the government for differential pricing? Should E20 fuel be cheaper at the pump to compensate consumers for that mileage drop?
So first, I would slightly qualify the mileage number. There can be, as I said earlier, also there can be marginal fuel efficiency impact, and we should acknowledge that transparently. But 5 to 7% should not be treated as a universal number. ARAI control testing has indicated roughly 2 to 6% range, while the government has spoken of around 3 to 5% for certain vehicles originally designed for E10 compliant vehicles. So the real world mileage, of course, also varies significantly, with traffic, driving style, tire pressure, air conditioning and maintenance and all those stuff. So now on your specific question, no, FADA is not lobbying the government for any differential pricing of E20 as we speak. As I say, that very consciously, because we are an automobile dealers association. Determining the pricing of petrol, taxation, ethanol, procurement, economics, those are not into our domain. And I don't want to also pretend that they are. Uh,
Right.
but we do represent the consumer at the point where he buys and maintains his vehicle. So I completely understand the question he is asking. And if he says that if I'm getting slightly fewer kilometers from a liter, shouldn't I be paying slightly less for that liter? That's a perfectly legitimate consumer question. But my responsibility is to make sure that he gets the facts. For example, one manufacturer explained this very simply. If a car gives around 20 kilometers per liter and a 3 to 3.5% difference, works out to roughly 0.6 kilometers per liter, and variations caused by traffic, again, traffic, tire pressure, acceleration, etc., can often be greater than that. So from FADA's perspective, I would look at the consumer's total ownership experience, not just one parameter. If policymakers at some stage decide that pricing benefit should be passed on to the consumer, I am sure every vehicle owner would welcome it. But FADA is not asking for a particular fuel price change. Our job is much simpler. Make sure that consumers understand what E20 means for his vehicle. That the mileage discussion is presently, honestly, rather than exaggerated, and that he can make his own ownership decisions with confidence. So we should neither hide a 3 to 5% impact where it exists, nor turn a 3 to 5% issue into a 20 to 30% scare story. So the consumer deserves facts and not fears. And one very important thing, that a consumer should always go to an authorized dealer's workshop, so that a complete guidance and complete health check of his vehicle can be done, because the authorized workshop has all the processes in place, has all the tools in place, has all the diagnostic sets in place, which a local workshop will never have, because these are proprietary products of a certain brand, of a certain OEM, through which they can always have a better health check of their vehicles. So this is one suggestion which I would want to give to your viewers from your platform.
Fair enough. Well explained. While it is also a fact that the lower price at the pump would certainly change the conversation overnight. I mean, here I'm talking purely as a consumer. We all manage our fuel budget very differently nowadays.
But the government has said that in this entire Middle East crisis and fiasco, if we do a comparative across different countries, India has been the least impacted in terms of fuel price hike. So we should not also, dilute this statement of the government, because this is a fact, and which every customer should understand, that while the neighboring countries have increased fuel prices by X percentage, the fuel price in our country has been much lesser compared to the neighboring countries, or globally. If you see, India's fuel price impact has been one of the lowest. So that is a thing which the government has already done for the customers, which I think they have not understood well, but it is also required from our perspective, or from your platform also, if you can make a comparative of how fuel prices have gone up in other parts versus vis-a-vis an Indian market. I think it will give a really good perspective to them, and they will understand this issue.
That's another debate. The oil reporter in me is, wanting to have another discussion with you on this, as to how the pricing works in India of the fuel price, and how artificially controlled the pricing mechanism is. But we'll definitely have a different discussion on this. Thank you for joining us and bringing so much needed data to a very noisy debate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you're shopping for a new car or wondering about your current ride, the takeaway is clear from this discussion. Check your vehicle's compliance date, stick to the authorized fuel stations, and don't let social media forums dictate your next big purchase. Thank you for viewing. Don't forget to hit subscribe, leave a review, and we will see you in the next episode. That is all we have. And to listen to the full conversation, listen to the link below.